Testing, testing. Hello. Hey, Krista, is this the right? This looks right to you?
Sorry, I just realized what I was. Yes, it is the right one.
This was the one I just got.
Yes.
Okay, got it. How are you?
Because I wanted to make sure that I want to review, because I went over taking the dog's temp when I did one that was solely on, dog behavior.
Mhm.
But I think it's a really good one to review because obviously not everybody was at that one, but it's also good to keep it like fresh in people's minds and be able to like give examples of like using it as a template for then how to describe what was going on to a trainer.
Yep, that makes sense.
I feel like I'm getting a lot of light in here.
Oh, yeah. Take your time.
Ugh, really old shades.
Fine. Well, I've got it 6:56, so we got plenty of time.
The house was built in 1941, and then there were some updates that happened in 1970. And you can kind of tell that like some of the stuff, when some of the things were updated and others were not.
Yes.
And like, I don't think I see blinds like this anywhere anymore. So I'm not sure if they're 70s blinds or 40s blinds.
Ooh, I think they would have dry rotted by now if they were from the 40s.
That's what I would have expected too, but we do still have some of the original windows, which is pretty cool because it has like the weight mechanism in the wall. And
Wow.
that's like not something that is done now.
No, I never even heard of that. I stopped sharing for a sec. I'll be right back.
Oh, no problem. I mean, we don't have anybody else in yet.
Yeah, I'm just, because this is a first, oh, I just turn off. Can you hear my air conditioning?
I don't think I can hear your air conditioning, but there were a couple times where like your voice sounded like it was whirring.
Oh, let me move my mic closer. Oh, and I have to print something.
I always get so stressed out before these.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
that's normal.
It's fine. Like, it's always fine. Like, I need to chill.
Oh, that's totally normal.
I mean, I was a theater kid in high school.
Oh, yeah. So
but I guess this I guess this is just a bit different because people are relying on my knowledge. There we go. Cool.
You might hear that, but then I'm done.
I did talk to Cinder not long ago, and she said that she would be here, so I'm hoping she does get the chance to show up. I hope some other people come too.
Yes, that would be good. All right. So.
That would be delightful. Although Jacqueline has been sharing the recorded sessions now on the Facebook page.
Oh.
And Cinder let me know, which is great. I'm super glad that they decided to do that. It was something we talked about. And so she started posting them on the Facebook page. And Cinder let me know. She was like, oh, I don't know if you saw, but somebody said that they watched one of the ones that was posted and really enjoyed it. And I was like,
aw,
good.
That's always nice to hear.
Yes, I'm glad people are benefiting, even if they weren't able to make it to the actual session.
All right.
Anybody else waiting to come in?
Well, there's no waiting anymore. You have to register.
Oh, that's right, with the registration.
Yeah, because that waiting and everything was awful.
Okay.
But, oh, shoot, that's what I meant to check. That's why I stopped sharing. Oh. Oh, I can't tell. All right. Wait. Oh no. Well, there were 7 registrants at some point, so that's good.
Was I one of them though?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, probably. Yeah, you were one. My other tutor is one. But then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other folks.
Hopefully they come.
All right, I'm gonna. I would resend a confirmation email, but it's not letting me. So. Oh wait, I know why. Maybe. Yes. Okay, I just reset the confirmation, so that'll be a reminder.
Okay.
Well, do you want to wait a couple minutes and see if anybody shows up?
Yeah, I'll wait a couple of minutes, but I was just thinking that, if people aren't consistently actually coming to the sessions, I wonder if we should just record them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, I mean, it cuts out the ability for people to ask questions live, but they can always email me any questions that they have.
And there haven't been too many questions. I think I've asked most of the questions, so
You definitely have asked a lot of the questions to help
I've been trying.
keep things going. So, I
Well,
mean, one of the
consider that, definitely.
yeah, I mean, one of the reasons that we, wanted to start advertising beforehand, what the topic was going to be was to hopefully get people interested in coming, but I don't really feel like it's made that much of a difference.
Have they ever done a survey of asking people what time would work best for them or date?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that that necessarily means anything, but
Yeah.
I don't know. People like to be asked, I guess.
Well, and I mean, it's not like I can't see, people wanting to watch this at a specific time during the weekend either,
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe Tuesday evenings isn't the best for a lot of people.
Well, you know what? Why don't we get started and what's going on? Are you hearing an echo from me? No.
Not that I can tell.
Okay, I thought I did for a moment. Never mind. Yeah, why don't we get started? So I'll just I've been recording this whole time, but I'm gonna edit it out. So
yeah, I figured that's what you were gonna do again.
Yeah. And then how about at the end? I mean, unless I truly have a question, how about I don't ask anything and then you can just naturally end it and tell people.
Yeah, and I can say if you have any questions on this topic, please feel free to email me at krista@ophrescue.org.
Yep, that sounds perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
Great.
Well, do you need a moment?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Wonderful. Okay. All
Let's
right.
rock and roll.
All right, I'm going to be quiet for a moment to make editing easier. Welcome to Operation Paws for Homes tips and tricks session. This week we have describing behavior and ways to highlight your foster pet. My name is Valerie. I'm a volunteer and a recent OPH adopter. This session is being recorded. Everyone is muted to prevent background noise. Please use the chat to post your comments and questions anytime. We'll have time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. And you'll be able to unmute yourself if you like. That's for you, Krista.
All right. So
I'm sorry, I've been doing this whole script like we're doing people, and I saw someone joined, but it wasn't. I thought it was Cinder, but it was not. So wait, give me 1 sec and I'll cut out.
Totally fine, no problem.
Welcome to Operation Paws for Homes monthly tips and tricks session. This month we have describing behavior and ways to highlight your foster pet. I'd like to introduce our speaker, Krista Kowalski. Krista has been working in the animal welfare field since 2016 and has spent 5 years managing the dog population for her local shelter. She earned her certification as a canine training and behavior specialist in 2019. Krista has been with Operation Paws for Homes since 2022 and enjoys sharing her knowledge of dogs with fosters and adopters. So thank you, Krista.
Thank you. All right, so today we are going to talk about describing behavior, and we're going to talk about it in 2 different ways. We're going to talk about it in the ways that a trainer would want you to talk to them with the types of behaviors that you have observed. If you are wondering about if you're having any sort of concerning behaviors, whether it's excitability or overexcitability, or if it's fear, any of those types of behaviors that you are observing with either your adopted or foster pet and you come to a trainer, these are going to kind of help guide you with the types of questions that trainers would generally ask you and how you can be prepared to speak to them, as well as how to speak about your foster to potential adopters, because the way we talk about behavior is going to be in a couple of different ways, because we're going to be a bit more nuanced when we're talking to a trainer. We're going to be a little bit more casual and more conversational when we're talking to people about potentially adopting from us. So let's start with how you would speak to a trainer regarding the dog's behavior. And we can go ahead. Yep, exactly. So when you talk to the trainer, what you're going to want to focus on is you're really going to want to try to paint us a picture of what is happening in the situation that a particular behavior is occurring that you're inquiring about. Is it a consistent behavior, or does it only occur in certain situations? Does it seem to be time related? Does it seem to be around a certain resource? Where was the dog in relation to, say there's an altercation, where was the dog in relation to the other dog or the person? A lot of times we talk with other dogs about, getting into what we call pinch points. So these would be any points that your dog might feel trapped in, so then they become reactive. A lot of times that can happen in like doorways or corners or any tight sort of hallways where they don't feel like they have a good exit. So that can be a cause for an incident. So, or say, well, the dog was on the couch and I was approaching the couch. Things like that are going to help us be able to figure out what was going on with that dog in that scenario. We basically want to be able to imagine that we were there and we can see what was happening. So any details that you can give us, no detail is going to be disregarded. We would rather hear what you think is too much detail than not enough. And also if there were any circumstances that led up to the behavior, say, we just came home from a long day at the dog park, anything like that. I know that my dog tends to be a little bit more sensitive to things if things have been disrupted with his routine. So if we've done something different, that tends to upset him and make him a little bit more irritable. So anything like that you can give us as far as details go is going to help us be able to identify maybe a cause for that behavior and how we can avoid it in the future. And the other thing that's going to help us when you're trying to paint that picture is what we call taking the dog's temp, and that is going to be on the next slide. So taking the dog's temp is not actually taking their temperature. It is an acronym. I did go over this when we talked about reading dog body language, and this graphic is actually one of my favorites for being able to determine what your dog is feeling. So temp stands for tail, ears and eyes, mouth, and posture. So if you look for those points on your dog in any given scenario, you're going to be able to tell, is the tail high or low? Is it neutral? Is it tucked? If it's wagging, how is it wagging? Is it wagging fast and stiff? Is it wagging nice and loose, almost like a noodle? Or sometimes we see the big helicopter swish. Ears and eyes. If the dog's eyes are really wide, you might be able to see the whites of the eye, and that's called a whale eye. Or is the dog avoiding eye contact? Or are they staring and it's hard and it kind of gives you the hair sticking up on the back of your neck? With the ears, are they up? Are they pinned back? The mouth, is it open and loose? Are they snarling? Is there tension? A lot of things that we look for when we are looking at dog body language is we're looking between the loose and soft, versus the hard and stiff. And it's something that as you start to look at it a little closer, you will be able to very easily identify. And then that general body position, are they staying tucked and low? Are they forward and kind of keeping their chest high? Are they in this nice little play bow? And some of these postures can be mistaken. A lot of times we see dogs that are belly up and assume that they want a belly rub. But sometimes it can be what is dictated on this sheet here, which is submission. And it's more like, hey, I'm no threat, versus wanting a belly rub. And the big differences that you're going to see between those are going to be things like, is the mouth closed, because that's more indicative of submission, versus, you know, that happy dog with their mouth lolling and their tongue hanging out the side of their face. And a lot of times if a dog is looking for a belly rub, this is going to be a subtle change. They might lean into you and then flop over. Versus submissive tends to happen in like a pretty quick motion. So we are not necessarily expecting that when you are trying to talk to a trainer about some dog behavior, we're not necessarily expecting that you are going to be able to have every single one of these points. Some things happen very fast. Sometimes it's on a walk and you don't see the dog's face really well because you're behind them slightly. So we don't necessarily expect you to have all of these points, but anything that you do have can be helpful. So I have some examples over here that might help you in what you may say to a trainer. So Milo was growling with his tail tucked and ears pinned back, and he's staying tucked in the corner of his crate. When Tutti Frutti met a new dog, her ears were up and her mouth was open, her body was loose, and then she did a play bow. Cheez-It was avoiding eye contact and shaking. He will not take treats from me, although he does eat when I'm not around. So all of these types of details are going to be really helpful in us being able to determine how that dog is feeling and what we may be able to do to help that dog in those situations in the future. And now we're going to talk about some things to avoid when you are describing dog body language. So you do want to kind of avoid labeling them with, oh, so-and-so is scared or so-and-so is happy. We really want to see you break down what the dog is doing to lead you to think that they are scared or happy. We really need those descriptors of body language and the actions of that dog, because some body language can be easily mistaken for other types of behaviors. So we really want to try avoiding labeling them, or, you know, doing what we call anthropomorphizing and putting our human emotions on the dog, like they felt guilty or something like that. Typically, dogs don't actually feel guilt. What they know that something that they did and have done in the future has resulted in us being upset with them, and so they are actually more scared than actual guilt. Those types of full-on thinking that are required don't really happen with dogs. That's us as humans, and we do very much like to think that our dogs are a lot like us, and there's a lot that they do understand, but we don't want to put our own human emotions on the dog and say that that is what they are feeling. So with that, we're going to move from talking about dog body language and talking about how to describe your dog's behavior to a trainer. And we're going to switch gears and go to how to talk about it when you're writing a bio. and also how to talk about it when you're speaking to potential adopters. And one thing that is really important is we are trying to make sure that there is some consistency and uniformity across OPH in the way that we present our pets. So we're going over some guidelines that we would like to see, and we would like our bios to be informative and short. We really just want to highlight some of those best qualities and be transparent about the challenges, but without sounding like we're talking badly about the dog or the cat in question. This can be hard to do, and it can be, a little bit of a balance, but hopefully this will help you out a little bit as we go over some of the things that we find most important. All right. So we are going to go over some guidelines for writing the bios. And what we want here is we want some structural uniformity. So we would like to see maybe an eye-catching opening, which our bios team is always welcome to help. They're always there to help you out if you need any help with this. I know it can be tough to come up with something, especially if, say, you have a dog whose name doesn't really lend itself to something or anything like that. They are there to help you out and there to help make this easy. So, some examples of some eye-catching openings that are unique to the dog are, since you're reading this, you're obviously looking for a new best friend, and hey, so am I. My name is blank. As you can see from my photo, I am or I have blank, and you can use a unique feature of the dog, using something in the name that is unique, such as my name may be Cal Ripken, but it's my first time at bat finding a family. For small dogs, I may be tiny, but I have a big heart. For older dogs, I'm aged to perfection. We can really get creative with those, and that may help your dog or your cat jump out to a potential adopter. We also would like the OPH name, age, weight, and breed, as those are going to be very common questions that a potential adopter is going to ask. We do want to avoid nicknames. So if you are calling the dog something different in the foster home, please don't list that in the dog's bio. I know it's very hard, but it may confuse the adopter as to which dog they're asking about. And, your adoption coordinators, they're not necessarily going to know which dog they're talking about if they're giving the nickname instead of the OPH name. So we do want to make sure that we are very consistent with using the OPH name. It is totally fine if you call the animal something different, but in these bios, we really need them to stick to that OPH name to avoid confusion for the adopters and for our adoption coordinators. And let's be honest, they're probably going to change the name anyway. So, and it doesn't really add anything useful to that bio. The next thing we want to look at when we're putting together our bio is we want to look at dog characteristics. And these important dog characteristics are going to be, the ones you want to highlight are going to be the ones that help people determine if this dog is the right match for them or not. This could include whether they are outgoing and energetic versus I'm calm and reserved. Are they a cuddle buddy? Are they an adventure companion? What are those types of things that will help a person determine if that's the type of dog that they want to meet or not? We kind of want to avoid types of things like saying that the dog is sweet, because what is sweet to one person could not be what they're looking for, and it's kind of a generic term. So if they are, affectionate and like to give kisses, give those details instead of using a generic term. And we will go over some of the other examples like this as we get there. The other thing that we want to look at when we are making these bios is we do want to present these dog characteristics in a bullet format. And we don't want to use emojis because formatting doesn't always show up properly in Pet Finder. So it might just cause things to look wonky. The reason why we want to keep it in that bulleted format is because we often find that if there's a lot of sentences and a lot to read, people don't sit there and read. They will glaze over and gloss over, and they will move on to the next dog that they don't have to read a lot about. They want to quickly and easily see if that dog could be the right fit for them. And the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a call to action. So we're going to have a statement telling an adopter what they will need in a future family. If you need a patient home, an active home, a fur sibling or no fur siblings, or and what they will give in return. You know, I'll give a lot of love. I promise to keep you laughing. Things like that are always great. And you always want to make sure that you end it with apply today. And then, so that will end our bullet points for our bio. The next thing we're going to look at is staying positive. So we want to make sure that we're framing the characteristics of our dog in a positive light. We don't want to turn people off by the way that we're phrasing things, because sometimes it's just simply the phrasing that can make a big difference. You know, instead of saying that I can't go home with small children, I would enjoy a home with adults or older teens. I'm not house trained. I'm working on my potty training. I wouldn't be a good fit with other animals. Instead, we could say, we'll thrive in a home where I can shine as the only pet. Things like this can really make the difference between having someone be like, oh, okay, versus what's wrong with that dog? So, and some of it is simply just our phrasing. We do have some words that we want to avoid and that we want to make sure that we're avoiding. Things like dislikes, won't, can't, doesn't, shouldn't. So anything that has that negative connotation, we kind of want to just see if we can reformat that in a way that sounds a little bit more positive. And again, if you need help with that, like, what's a good way to say this? Our bios team is on it. They're there to help you. So if you need help, please email our bios team and they will be happy to help you and make suggestions. We also want to make sure that we're avoiding using the word aggressive. We would like to just take that out of our book of words because so many people don't understand what aggression means. So even if we're saying that someone, such and such a dog has not shown aggression toward X, let's just take it out and let's focus on what the dog has demonstrated. Demonstrated tolerance toward cats, or whatever it may be. This also avoids issues if the dog behaves differently in their adoptive home, because we always know that, you know, each individual home and all of its components are a different environment for each animal. So if we take that animal into a new environment, we can't expect them to behave exactly 100% the same that they did in our foster home. And I know that we have had returns where we go, they didn't do that in my home. Well, what's the difference? So we can kind of break down and figure out what the difference is for that animal and what what may be the best for them. So we just want to avoid that, because we don't want someone to come back and say they have some sort of an incident happen in their home, which of course we don't ever want to happen, but it does happen. If you put in their bio, the dog is not aggressive, and they have some sort of an incident in their home, they could then turn back to us and say, well, you said this dog is not aggressive. So regardless of what the incident was, say it's something that, was easily preventable and it's not actual aggression, they could still use that. Like, you said this dog wasn't aggressive and we had X issue. For any additional information that may be helpful for the adoption coordinators, please add that to the notes in DMS. Not everything has to be in their profile or in their bio. We want the bio to be eye-catching and entice them to put in an application and learn more about that pet. But we do know that our fosters are going to know these animals best. So your notes and your input are very important in our adoption coordinators being able to make good matches. And please remember that you are critical in making good matches as well. And just because you have a meet and greet does not mean that that dog has to go home if you don't feel comfortable with it. This is a team effort. And again, you know that pet best. So please feel free to work with your adoption coordinators and work to find the best matches possible for our pets. All right, and now we're going to talk about some things to avoid. So one big thing that we want to avoid, and this goes along with what we were talking about with, we want to just avoid completely using the term aggression. We want to not make promises. Promises can lead to returns, especially if the dog does not behave exactly as advertised. So we just don't want to promise what the behavior is going to be. What we do want to say is, this is the behavior that has been in my home. This dog has been with me since X date and has not had an accident, although it is totally understandable going into a new environment that they may have some accidents. This dog has been with me and has not been destructive in my home. This dog has slept well in the crate in my home. So we really want to phrase it and not guarantee that this dog is going to perform X, Y, and Z in the adoptive home. So with that, if you do want to add a video, please contact Jacqueline Maxey first. She will upload it to our OPH Rescue YouTube first before being downloaded to their profile. And Google is your friend. There are different websites that can help you get started if you do want to make a video. And please make sure that you contact bios and ads. Google is also your friend if you need help creating your bio. In general, if you're looking for different things to say, we do have a really great resource from ASPCA Pro that I will try to get out to all of you, that gives some examples of good descriptors to use in bios, both for challenges that we want to talk about, as well as the positives that we want to highlight. And like I said a couple times before, please contact the bios and ads team. They are there to help you. If you don't feel like you are the most creative or the best at writing bios, please get them the information. They'd be more than happy to help you out. And next up, oh, I'm sorry, I just talked about all that information on this slide. So next slide. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Good pictures may be the key to grabbing a potential adopter's attention, as well as also being able to help feature your foster. One thing that we look for when we look to send out, we do send a weekly newsletter to all of our approved applicants, and we do try to feature all of your pets that are available. But sometimes it's tough to feature them if we can't find a good photo to use, because we're really trying to grab their attention with that. So here are some tips to think about when taking pictures of your foster just in general. Make sure you keep the background free of clutter. Sometimes taking pictures after playtime is really good for a relaxed, open posture. You are going to find that if the dog is tired, they are going to be more willing to sit still. But you can also feel free to take some photos during playtime. People love to see an action shot, but we also want to make sure that there's a good portrait headshot of the dog. It's great if you can also try some different heights, so that people can really get a good idea of that dog. Some dogs do better if you get down on their level and can get a picture that way, versus trying to be, overhead or things like that. So really play around with it. If you have teens or kids in your home, I know that they would probably love to take pictures of your fosters. And if you ever need help, please let us know, and we would be happy to see if we can help you in any way, shape, or form. Events are also a great opportunity to take photos and to see if you can get some help with taking photos if your dog is able to go to events. Please also make sure that the best 6 photos are the ones that are first in DMS, because those are the ones that are going to transfer over to Pet Finder. We also do have ring lights that are available and on tripods, available to borrow at transport. So if you feel like you need one, please let our team know, let the transport team know. I believe it is Amanda who would get your supplies ready. So please let her know that you would like to borrow one, and she can get one on transport for you. I do have a good link that I will also try to get out to you that is from Pet Finder, with some tips on taking great photos. So I will try to get those out to you guys. And if there are any questions on any of this material that I went over, whether it's talking about dog body language to trainers, or if you are interested in some tips on bios, you can contact me, and you can contact our bios and ads team. Erica and Lauren are awesome, and they would be more than happy to help you with that portion of it. And if you ever need assistance with any of your dogs, please feel free to contact me. I'm always around and ready to help you guys figure your dogs out. If no one has any questions, we will just talk about the next session, which will be on August 15th at 7 p.m. I currently do not have my topic picked out for this one. So if there is anything that you are itching to learn more about in the realm of dog behavior, please let me know. Pop me an email at krista@ophrescue.org. And if you have any questions on anything, feel free to pop me a question on there, whether it's something we went over tonight or something that was gone over at a different time. Tammy, if you do have a question, please feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself and we can talk about it.
Yeah, no, great, thanks. And again, I apologize, I was late. So I just
no worries.
I wanted to follow up. I like you talked about, I caught the part talking about the public bios and sort of the don't use these words and things. That I just want to follow up how ridiculously important the behind the scene comments are. It's the only way your ACs get a feel for your dog. So like you really want to write a lot there. But please, I've had a couple dogs I've taken from people, and please don't diagnose your dogs with separation anxiety. A dog crying in a crate for 5 minutes is not separation anxiety. And that label is hard to get over because the ACs are humans. They're trying to make good matches, and that's a red flag.
Yes, absolutely. And going off of that, please know that separation anxiety, true separation anxiety, is something that takes a veterinary behaviorist to actually diagnose, and it's something that the behaviors that they demonstrate are pretty significant. Sometimes we do have our dogs experience separation distress, which a lot of dogs do. But if they are able to be easily managed, it's not true separation anxiety. True separation anxiety is going to be fairly serious, which again is why Tammy was bringing it up, is if you put that label on your dog, it's going to make them very difficult to place because people are thinking about whether or not they can safely leave that dog at home. And we all have reasons why we need to leave the dog at home. True separation anxiety includes like tore through an entire couch, or breaking out of crates and hurting themselves and kind of not caring if they're hurting themselves in order to get out of a crate. I have seen dogs who have chewed through bottom halves of doors because they were so distraught, ripping down curtains, things like that, where true separation anxiety is very extreme. So again, just like we were talking about before with, we don't want to put our own human labels on our pets of, saying that they feel guilty or things like that. Please make sure that you're not labeling it, and please just describe the behaviors that you are seeing. And that's going to go along with painting that picture. I have definitely had dogs who I've asked more questions about, like, well, how long are they crying? Do they stop? Is it easy to distract them with a food treat while you leave? And does that kind of resolve the issue? Because sometimes if we give them something positive to focus on while we're leaving, then it's not as big of a deal. So very good point, Tammy. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have anything?
Nothing else has come in. So want to thank everybody for taking time out of your schedule to watch this session. And thank you so much to Krista. And again, please email Krista if you have any questions or thoughts about topics for upcoming sessions. Thanks, Krista.
Thank you.
Thanks, Krista.